right. Disappointed, obviously, in the way we finished on Saturday, but all you can do is go back to work. And thought the guys came back on Sunday, got in the training room, got all that addressed, and then had a good run, had a good lift, and then they were off yesterday, and then we had a good Tuesday practice. It was hot, all right, so I added to the adversity, which was good for us. And Troy is a super talented team, much improved from a year ago. Offense and defense, quarterbacks playing at a high level. Defense gives you a very unique scheme to prepare for, and they got talent in those positions. Safety had 19 tackles. Quarterback is rushing all over the place and playing at a really high level. So we got our work cut out for us. Glad we have them at home. Homecoming crowd, that'll be big for us. So obviously excited about the opportunity to go compete again. Questions?
Yeah, just looking at the loss on Saturday, I guess what's your major takeaway from that game that you really want just to improve on as y'all move forward to just kind of prevent those losses from happening?
Yeah, I think complementary football is probably the biggest thing that stood out to me. Just going back and feeling it during the game, and then but really digesting it afterwards. Is the defense was playing well. And early, and the offense, a lot of that had to do with penalties. You go back and give them a lot of credit, but at the same time, had a touchdown called back. We had a couple first downs called back, really due to penalties. And obviously, you're going to have some bad plays, here and there, missed throws or misfits, in the run game, all that kind of good stuff. But I thought we played well enough on offense. You had over 500 yards of offense, no turnovers, and that's really been the key for us. Something that we've harped, since the last year ended, all spring, all summer, all fall camp, was taking care of the football, just because we haven't been good in that area. And we've done that, pretty well up until this point. So, had 200-yard rushers. We're efficient in the pass game. So you like to, most of the time, if you look at the stats of those games and you just close your eyes and who won the game, usually you win those games. But that's the great thing about college football.
It's a tough loss. Obviously, a lot goes into it, but that the last minute you
Yep.
scored, and then they were able to come right down and score.
Yep.
What were you thinking in that moment? Do you think you want to go back and maybe take a field goal, or
Yeah.
what's your thought process now?
Yeah. It's we talked about those situations on the field, and there's really about three scenarios that I think could have taken place there, and we chose scenario A, and I think some of that has to do with me being confident. I'm a confident person, and like, hey, we're going to go score and we're going to hold them, and here we go. Looking back on it, you can play the what if game. There's, like I said, there's two other scenarios that could have played out. But ultimately, too, you got to make a PAT, and we got to do that in college football. And I think that probably led to some of the decision. Hey, let's just go score and let's go have the defense go shut them out. They played well, really up until the fourth quarter. And I think we had 5 sacks on the night, so felt confident in getting after the quarterback a little bit. And we give them guys a lot of credit. I mean, they went right down the field and scored. So yes, there's some things and situations that I wish I would have done better to put ourselves in a maybe analytically to win the game. But at the same time, we got to make plays. In the kicking game, we got to make plays on defense, in crunch time. But yes, if I could do it over again, obviously I think that's human nature. I would do it differently.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Brad's performance? Because I'm a stat guy, and I was looking at the stats when I was writing my article yesterday. And 131 yards on the ground, quite a few yards passing as well. Him playing like that every game, you got to feel good about your chances.
Yeah, for sure. Brad gives us a ton of confidence each and every week, just because he takes care of the ball. He's very efficient. And obviously, there's still a lot of room for improvement each and every week, but that's everybody every week. So he's been dynamic with his legs. So yeah, he gives us a ton of confidence to go out there and handle and accomplish what we still want to accomplish. Knowing having a guy like that in this league.
Speaking of Arkansas State, Rayner seemed to give you all a bit of trouble on the ground. now Troy's coming in, they also, run the quarterback a lot. So what's the key to handling like a mobile quarterback like that, especially one like that takes it to an even more extreme like Troy?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Rayner, that's one of those deals where he's you kind of go look back, like the psychology of it. That was kind of, going into that week. All right, they had struggled running the ball, and then they still struggled, for the most part, running the ball with, regular hand the ball to the running back, down and distance runs. We did a pretty good job there. And then, that guy's big, he's strong, he's fast, and I think we got to tackle, and you got to gang tackle. When you have your opportunity to get the quarterback down, you got to get him down. And so that's some of the, when you play a quarterback like that, you got to rally to the ball, you got to hit him, and get him down and make him not want to run the ball anymore. I played quarterback, and I promise you, I ran the ball a lot too. And when I played BYU my senior year, that power read didn't feel as good after I got hit a couple times. So that's part of it too. You got to be physical, and when you have your opportunity to get the quarterback down, you got to get him down the first time.
And speaking of which, Khalil seemed to have some trouble on the edge trying to get Rayner down. Is that just give credit to Rayner, or is that
Yeah.
Khalil needs to be a little bit smarter, be a little
Yeah, I think some of it scheme wise, we got to help Khalil out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, he's our best defender on their best guy, and we got to make plays. We were slipping a little bit out there, and we got to find our footing and go make a play. Same thing though, we can help them schematically as well and put them in a little bit better positions.
0-3 on buys now for a
Yeah.
year at Texas State. We've seen you prepare teams with some time off with the bowl games.
Yeah.
So you've been able to do that. Is there any lessons from that that you've taken in 5 weeks going forward for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something you always got to look at. I mean, I don't think you put your head in the sand but I think, some of it might just be luck of the draw. I thought we had our best week of practice last week. I really do. I don't think it was about the preparation. We came out really fast, really on both sides of the ball. We went right down and scored and played really well on defense to start the game. I think, anytime you play on the road and this league is tough for whatever reason. And I think that's something we got to continue to address too, and look at everything and see what we can do better.
Just looking at the offense, I guess between after the first drive, up into the fourth quarter, but I know you talked about the penalties, but what could you identify, like what was going on, why the offense wasn't clicking as they should, as compared to like the first drive of the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think I think the penalties probably had something to do with it, and that's just anytime you have negative plays, not necessarily penalties. When you have negative plays and you're behind the chains, it's tough to play catch up. We started one drive on the 1 yard line, -1 yard line, almost -1 inch line. Same thing. We tried to take a shot out of -1. They threw a flag and then they picked it up, and so we just got to handle those situations better. And I thought, for the most part, if you really look at it, we executed really well. I mean, we ran the ball extremely efficiently. 2 guys over 100 yards. Like I said, over 500 yards of offense. Brad was pretty efficient all night. I think it was just one of those games, for whatever reason, didn't go our way. But kind of goes back to the complementary football. Like, we get it. We go down there, go score, right? On the road, boom, we got all the momentum. We get the ball back. Ryan has the opportunity to pick that ball off, and we don't make that play. And then we get the ball back on offense. They kind of shank it. We got to go right down the field and score. You know what I'm saying? Then it's 14-0, and then it kind of snowballs on them. So I think it just really goes back to that complementary football, like I talked about. And we talked about that early in the year with Eastern Michigan. We weren't really doing that until the second half. Defense get a stop, we'd go score. Defense get a stop, we'd go score. And that momentum really starts changing things. And so I think just that complementary football is something we got to do. And then, vice versa in the fourth, right? We go score, they go score. We go score, they go score. We go score, right? They go score. So we just got to be better in that in complementary football and playing off each other.
Coach, after the game, you said you felt sick. How long did you let that sick feeling sit there, and what is the lesson you learned from it?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Coach talk is, hey, I moved on, right after the game, 24 hours. But today I woke up and I felt a lot better. It's never easy. Just for those kids, man, they put in so much work, and we put so much work in the off season, summer and fall camp to have those opportunities. And we were right there to go 1-0 on the road. But you know what? It didn't happen. Life's not fair. It's not fair, but hey, it is what it is. You got to go back to work, and good thing is we got a home game in front of the home crowd. It should be packed out. Another conference game, and they're all so important. So hopefully that's a lesson that we've learned from previous years is not to let that thing linger, and don't let somebody beat you twice. We got to go out there and handle our business and practice and go out there and get a win on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah, with it being homecoming, obviously everyone's throwing back to the Southwest Texas, logos and uniforms. But since you've been here, what have you learned about that word like Southwest Texas, and what is it, I guess, meant to you, like especially to the older alumni who still
Yep.
call it Southwest Texas?
Yep, I think what I've learned is some people love it, some people don't like it. I've learned that. I think it's really cool. I think anytime you get to honor, the former alumni, honor the former football players that came before you, I think that's always special. So to me, that's what I take more out of it than anything. It's just, honoring those guys that wore the SWT and went out there and won games and represented the university in the right way. So that's probably what I take out of it more than anything.
You've got Troy coming up this week. The Sun Belt West, it's still in play.
Yeah,
Even
for sure.
Last week and everything. What is your thoughts in thinking when you're looking at Troy, assessing them? What do you see it from their offense specifically?
Yeah, offensively, quarterback wise, their starter went down Memphis game and took a shot. They were really spreading the ball out and really letting it fly, and he was throwing the ball all over the place, looking more like a traditional spread team. This guy comes in, and he was kind of they were using him in packages early in the season as well, and so I think he's still growing in that area, but he's tough. I know that you can just feel his toughness on film. He's a winner. The guys are playing hard for him. The coaching staff trusts him. You can tell, and they're really just out gritting people right now on offense. Obviously, I do think they have a ton of talent. Their offensive line is really big. I think they have a couple of running backs that are really, really solid guys, downhill, physical guys. And then outside, they have a bunch of different weapons, between the receivers and the tight ends, different body types, big, tall receivers, little bitty guys. Number 14 is probably the best tight end in the league. I mean, he's a real guy. He's been there for a couple of years. We've known about. So they just have a bunch of weapons, and then they're really just playing triple option football out there with this guy. Giving him opportunities to throw it and then run it, more of like a quarterback RPO based offense. Instead of handing the ball to the running back, the quarterback's doing some of that run game. And then same thing, triple option, power read, zone read, just kind of adding that, making you have that extra hitter in the box. And that's tough. That puts a lot of stress on the defense. And they got really good coaches, and they're adapting to their personnel, and that's what really good coaches do.
Does it change up without revealing your scheme? Does it change
No.
up a whole lot what y'all do on defense when you face an offense like this?
Yeah, I think every week, there's always different wrinkles that you want to put in and implement to make sure you're sound in what you do based off the offense that you're playing. If you're playing a triple option team or you're playing a wide open air raid attack, there's things that you got to account for. So we're always going to try to put our players in the best situation to go have success.
During your times as a player and as a coach, like, what have you learned about those, triple option teams, and what has been the key to just slowing them down, being able to kind of get your offense, being able to put their offense in an uncomfortable position?
Yeah, I think that's, if you really look at what we do, it's a lot of the same stuff. Our offenses are pretty similar. We just do it in different ways. We're real wide and spread out and doing similar stuff. But, our offenses aren't too different, to be honest with you. So our defense faces that a lot in practice each and every week. So I think it just puts stress on the defense, and that's what you're trying to create, those one-on-one matchups and eye discipline and all that. So defensively too, they have a very unique scheme on defense, and something they busted out after for the Clemson game. So they're being very smart with their approach going into this season. based off their personnel, what they feel like their strengths and weaknesses are. They're playing to those strengths and weaknesses, and I think you go get a big win, versus South Al in a rivalry type game, and I know their momentum's high and their juices are going to be high, because they're executing their plan right now, and that's a great feeling.